Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Thanks for tuning in to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Today, we're going to encourage you to put your socks on. Okay, not on your feet, on your tires. This is called the snow sock, and it comes to us from our friends at Shark Industries. Dino, you guys have a huge catalog, first of all, at Shark. We can get into some of the other items, but this is something you brought for show and tell, and I think this is really going to help a lot of people out. How does it work?
Basically, it's an alternative to chains, and it's a fabric that absorbs the moisture from the snow that creates the slipping. And you just slip the snow sock onto the tire, and it creates additional traction. It's a traction aid.
It makes me think of skiing or ice skating, where you're gliding on the water on the surface, and that's what makes it slip.
Yes.
And this takes care of that problem. Where does that moisture go once it absorbs into here?
So it absorbs through the fabric or the textile material, and it dissipates through the tread of the tire.
Just like it would do normally.
Just like it normally, if you're driving in the rain, the tires are designed to take the water and dissipate them out the side.
Folks right now are looking at this going, really? Does that work compared to these big chains? What's the traction like with these?
It's pretty impressive. I mean, you would never think something like this would work. And I'll be honest, I was a skeptic at first, about 9 years ago when we first saw these. And I got a sample in and put it on my neighbor's car because the size was too small for my truck. Went into a Target parking lot and I drove the Honda Accord without the snow sock in about 6 inches of snow, slipping, sliding, and I put the snow socks on and I was amazed on how much traction. Now, you have to control the throttle. You don't want to go over 25, 30 miles an hour, similar to chains.
And you're not spinning your wheels up to 80,000 RPM.
Wheels. No, that's not the idea. The idea is just to allow the fabric to absorb the moisture and it grips onto the snow. The inventor remembered as a child, his mom would put socks on his shoes to walk to school to prevent him from slipping. That concept then translated to, why don't we make a snow sock for tires?
Of course, this isn't a long-term thing. You're not going to leave this on all winter.
No, absolutely not. This is designed for the scenario where you go to work in the morning and a beautiful sunny day and all of a sudden a storm rolls in and you end up with 6 to 8 inches of snow. And they can't clean the roads up quick enough, but you want to be able to get home with a peace of mind. And that's where the snow sock really comes in hand. And when you get home, you just remove them. They are washable. You take and throw them in the washer and just let them air dry. Throw them in the trunk of your car for the next snowstorm.
What is the installation process like?
It's so simple. You get the snow sock onto the tire as far as you can, drive the car forward, and then put the balance of the snow sock onto the tire. No more than 5 minutes aside.
And you can see with chains, just sorting them out is a mess to begin with, and figuring out what the orientation is for those chains. And remember too, you're probably going to be doing this in 20-degree weather because it's snowed on you now.
Wind's blowing, you're cold, your hands are freezing.
And the chains are going to be freezing.
And the chains are very heavy. These are very light. They're easy to maneuver and get on the tire.
Now what's the difference between the red snow sock and the white one?
We have the Classic and then we have the Super. The Super is a thicker, larger weave material, just lasts longer than the Classic. Traction-wise, you're not going to lose any traction by either picking the Classic or the Super. They're traction-wise the same.
So I see the Super as being, maybe you live in a snowy place, you're using it more frequently. The red ones get you home.
Just to get you home, yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I love it. And now we have folks watching all over North America. Where can they use these? I know Washington State is particularly sticky. The DOT, California and Colorado are tough to get approval. Yes. Can folks use them in those areas?
Yes, absolutely. We're approved in all 3 states, and because we're approved in all 3 states, you can use it pretty much throughout the U.S.
And Canada as well.
And Canada as well.
Excellent. Now, I've mentioned the giant catalog you have at Shark Industries, and another thing you brought to show us here is the Ceramic Lube. Now, this is a 38-year-old product, but it's kind of the industry standard. What am I going to use this for?
The Ceramic Lube is used in any area that you want lubrication that there's high heat. What it does, it allows parts to move against each other in a high heat environment like a brake, rotor, or caliper. It lubricates, it prevents squealing and sticking.
There are other folks making this. They call it ceramic. How does yours compare to theirs?
The difference is that our product has 30% solid ceramic product in it compared to our competitors. They use about 0.1% to 1%.
If you don't want to make the commitment and buy the big can of it, you can get a sample for free from our friends at Shark Industries. This will do an entire brake job?
Yes.
Excellent. You'll be sold once you do the first brake job.
Absolutely.
This is the real deal. You can check out the Ceram Lube. You can check out the Issy Snow Sock at sharkind.com. There's also a special discount there for Motorhead Garage viewers, Snow 21. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, so keep it right here.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. Jeep Steel, manufacturers of steel products for America's #1 vehicle. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system. And by Benpack, providing automotive service solutions.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, classic car owners especially, you may have heard about rodents getting inside your vehicle, eating the wires. Matt, a lot of folks say the new vehicles may have bigger problems because of soy being used for the coating on the wires, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, does it?
Combining way more wires with engine covers and nice places for the rodents to hide creates perfect nesting opportunities.
I think the common wisdom is that mice are looking for food, but that's also not the whole story.
Mice are constantly teething, so as their teeth are growing, they're looking for something to gnaw on to keep their teeth short and sharp. Just so happens, hiding under these engine covers, wiring seems to be one of the most prevalent things for them to kind of bite on.
You have years of experience at car dealerships, so how many cars do you see coming in that have damage from mice and rats and that sort of thing?
So the damage associated with like a check engine light, you see probably 1 in every 10, 20 cars. But you see damage to engine covers and hood liners and some insulation here and there. And that's probably 1 in 5 from where I am up in New England. People don't always know that this is happening, so because it hasn't turned the check engine light on yet. But if they're there, they're multiplying, increasing your risks of kind of breaking down and having an expensive repair.
And over the years, people have been asking, how do I prevent this or how do I fix it?
This is the Mouseblocker Classic. This is about 10 years old now. It's designed back then to be very small, work very well off the battery itself. It's a very low power draw, so it can run for many, many months without draining the battery down. We found that it actually works better nowadays in motorcycles and tractors and smaller spaces. We even have some dealers that put them in pool pumps and central air conditioners. The reason it's kind of evolved into our more powerful models are as the cars are getting more complicated, and like I touched on, the engine covers and insulation and padding, we needed to increase the power to get some more penetration and circulation under and around these engine compartments and big motors. And we designed the Mouseblocker Pro. So this has 3 settings to it. The highest ones are eviction mode, which actually hits at 115 decibels. Jackhammer decibels, it's like 400 times more powerful than anything else you've really seen on the market.
To a mouse, that's a tremendous amount of force. And to the human ear, that's just a little chirping sound. And you're not going to hear it when it's under the hood when you're driving around.
Exactly. And with the unit, we actually added these lights here. These are actually dual strobing LEDs. And what they do is they create shadows in and around the area. So when the mice come in to this nice, warm, safe place that they know, well, now this warm place doesn't feel so safe anymore.
And that unit there clearly hooks onto the battery terminals there. Should that be in your daily driver or something like that?
Daily driver, yep, simple 2-wire hookup. Goes right to power and ground. And the really cool thing about this is when you start the car, this actually goes to sleep. And when you park the car and it knows that the car is not running anymore, this actually comes to life and starts protecting it. So there's nothing you have to do. This is kind of automatic.
And for the folks that may have a show car, something you don't want that under the hood all the time, you've got a unit here that plugs in, and if you have a trickle charger, you're unplugging that anyway. You can unplug this unit and hit the road. And
exactly. So this was designed for long-term storage scenarios. So something where the car is going to be sitting for more than 2 weeks is what we call a long-term storage. Something where the battery needs to be tended, something where you're driving it once a month, you're going to an event, or it's a project, you know, something that you're working on. That's where we have the plug-in version. Works just like this one, has all of the same features, including our proprietary eviction mode. Very, very powerful.
And speaking of powerful here, this clearly doesn't go under the hood. How does this unit work? This is brand new.
What we found is once we were driving the rodents out of the car, the garage now became like a vulnerable space. This is a sweet whisper quiet kind of setup, but it has 4 long-range speakers. So this is designed to protect up to 1,000 square feet. This will reflect across the floor and all around in the garage, making now that area uncomfortable.
The Mouseblocker is going to solve your mouse problems. It's also a great insurance policy from it starting in the first place. Check them out at mouseblocker.com, and I bet you one of these is a whole lot cheaper than getting one wire repaired at the dealership. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, so stay right here. Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. You know, the name Roadrunner has been synonymous with performance for decades, as seen in this 1972 Plymouth. Well, guess what? Roadrunner is still where you want to go for high-performance products. Roadrunner Performance. I know you guys are known for your hoses and connectors, so I want to talk about the hoses that you make. How do they stand out from the competition that's out there?
One of the biggest things that we do, Dave, is we'd send everything out for testing along with internal testing. This is kind of evident right here. We took a put-together hose, 9,800 PSI burst. We came out with a crimp style, which is 10,000 burst on the hose, which that is your max rating for a hose.
Right.
That's all it should ever take, but the connectors are still intact.
We just had a couple racers in here looking at these, and they were blown away by these quick connectors that you have here.
Well, one of the cool things about the quick connects that we made is we made them very universal. So your bodies will always flow an 8, even though you put a 6 on the end or an 8 on the end, it doesn't matter. So it made them very universal. Another thing that we were able to do when we did this was that we made them female or male. So you're not buying 20 fittings to create the same job.
To create 10 connections.
Correct.
Now you have a smaller one here, which is for brake lines, is that correct?
Yeah, so we made one for brake lines. We have drifters, we have off-road guys that just have these built on a different system. So if they take out a caliper, they take out a spindle, they can just slam a new one on, plug it in and go. There's no bleeding necessary.
And those aren't the only connectors you have. You have some filters here we should talk about.
Yeah, we keep a variety of filters. These are for more your carbureted ones and things like that, which have different colors. And then we also have fuel injection, which we carry in 2 different colors. One's a high pressure and one's a lower pressure.
Myriad connectors here to look at. Kind of walk us through what you brought.
One of the neat things that we did is we made a connection here. Instead of having the old school plastic type, this actually threads in and it's bored down for a 2 O-ring in style inside it.
Which is huge. If you have the 2 O-rings, with 1 O-ring, this is going to be bouncing all around and everything. With 2 O-rings makes it more stable there.
Correct, and you're able to lock it down with a wrench instead of depending on a plastic fitting.
Very cool. And I know you have some other fittings here as well.
We do a cutting edge fitting right here. We actually turn it one more time just to be different because black is really big right now, but you want something that'll show off a stainless line. We also have a titanium fitting, which is starting to become really popular. People like having the dual colors.
And I really like these vise jaws here. Magnetic to stick to your vise, and it's not going to score your fittings as well.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason why we made 2 different styles. We have aluminum and a Bakelite, basically. Customer's choice, it depends.
And finally, this wrench. I love this.
This is the way I designed this wrench. You'll never have an issue with a fitting. When you put a fitting in, you can tighten it, you can loosen it, and you'll never damage your fitting. So on your show cars and on your nice cars, you won't damage them. On your off-road trucks, they put these on the trucks and carry them with them because these will never fail you. We have not received one back in 5 years.
Well, we've got hoses, connectors, and tools to make everything easier. Check them out at roadrunnerperformance.com. If you drive a diesel vehicle that's been made in about the last decade, you've got a piezo injector in it. And if you drive a truck, you've got one like this Bosch style right here. Now, these things will go for hundreds of thousands of miles until they don't.
The most common point of failure for an injector is poor quality fuel, either through fuel contamination, water in the fuel, debris in the fuel from a failure upstream on a high pressure pump, something like that. These injectors are incredibly durable otherwise. In a good condition, without any other problems, they could last 300,000 miles.
So what specifically goes wrong inside these injectors?
The most common point of failure on a piezo type injector from the Bosch would be this valve right here. This is a control valve. It's a small poppet valve. It's actually controlling the injector's on and off response of the nozzle. It's holding back 29,000 pounds of pressure and diesel fuel. And Any leakage at that valve will give the injector a high return flow situation. The nozzle won't act as snappy, as quick to open and shut as it should.
Tolerances get sloppier.
Tolerance gets sloppier. Second big failure point is this amplifier assembly. This is actually what's transmitting the force of the piezo expanding and contracting inside the injector to the control valve itself. They are very wear resistant, but they're also very high tolerance. And if there's any abrasive or metallic debris in the fuel, they will lock up and that injector will just quit.
You told me earlier, since 2011, Bosch hasn't had a remanufacturing solution for this, but you've come up with one.
Once we've electrically tested the injector, verified the piezo condition, we will clean them both externally and internally with a ultrasonic heated bath. We have got a process we've developed to reassemble and recondition the amplifier assemblies so that the injector has a proper function right out of the gate. We've developed a process to recondition the seat and poppet valve sealing surfaces on the control valve. We've sourced nozzles from a well-established supplier in Italy that's been building diesel parts since the 1920s. All new internal sealing rings and gaskets. Parts are measured on a computer-controlled measurement system, properly shimmed out to give it the set pretension and springs, and finally tested on a computer-controlled hydraulic test bench that has a program that mimics the operation of the injector in the truck. Operates at a full 2,000 bar, 29,000 psi pressure, 7-point test plan, checking full load fuel, idle, emissions points. When we're done, the test bench produces a 10-digit IQA or trim code. That's a code that allows the installer to tune that injector to the truck, and it is unique to our process for the piezo type injectors.
Well, you can bring your lazy or dead diesel engine back to life thanks to Phoenix Technique. You can check them out at phoenix-technique.com. We'll return with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, so keep it right here. More cool products to come.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. The last coat cleans, shines, and protects. Mobile Environmental Solutions, the leading portable mobile paint booth. Insane Audio, are you ready to rock your rig? And by Viper Engineering. By Viper, get quality.
Dorman is focused on solutions, and thank goodness for that. You know, the 14 to 16 Malibus have a built-in fuse in their fuse panel itself. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you were to replace it, you would have to go to the dealer and get the whole panel. Now think about that for a minute. You would undertake a ginormous project because you'd have to disconnect this whole panel here. Now you're even dealing with all these small connectors and these, they call CPA, connector position assurance. You're gonna have problems with the wiring. Not a good thing, not to mention the cost. You would incur a massive amount of cost to buy this whole panel, and the time, I couldn't even calculate it. When shops are making $100 an hour flat rate, man, you could get in the $300–400 range when you have to replace one of these panels. Well, that's not the case. Dorman has the OE fix, man, the solution. It's right here. This is the actual panel. What is it? Well, it's the fuse. It's the fuse and the built-in electronics that's going to go ahead and eliminate that problem. You're not going to have an issue with this piece right here. Nothing but plug and play, bolt it down, plug it in, you're good to go, and you're not going to have any issues with the car shorting. That's a dangerous thing. And that brings me to my tech tip. Let's talk about shorts and circuit protection. First of all, there's a graphic there. You can see these two types of shorts. First one's short to power. That kind of, I think, a wire to wire, kind of messing with your car. Or you can have a short to ground. That one actually goes copper to frame, to actually steel. That's a problem as well. How do cars protect it? Well, they use a fuse. You saw the fuse panel there. You can have an inline fuse like this one here. You can have a circuit breaker. Now, my circuit breaker gets hot and it opens and closes with heat. Or you may even have what's called a fusible link. Now, fusible link is 4 wire gauges smaller than the wire it's protecting. And what does that do? It actually burns. It's a one-time protection device. So you won't have to worry about any of these fuses or this fuse panel. All you need to do is go down and check with Dorman. Make sure you check with them on the parts first so you can get an OE solution for any of your problems. I'm John Gardner for Dorman Products. We'll catch you next time.
Time now for the lowdown with Magic Creeper.
All right, Motorheads, you can be honest with me. I know you're looking for a gift for somebody, but you can't figure out what to get them. What do you get somebody who has everything? How about the Magic Creeper? I know you've seen it before on the show, and if you're not convinced, I'm telling you, this is going to be the most useful tool in your toolbox. You can use it if you're a professional. You can use it if you're working on your car at home, maybe a shade tree mechanic. And if you're not even handy with a car, well, you can use this around the house. You can use it as a kneeling pad to do anything you need to with your floors, get under cabinets. And of course, you're going to want to carry the Magic Creeper in your vehicle in case you have trouble by the roadside. Changing a tire, no problem. The Magic Creeper makes a perfect kneeling pad. You don't have to kill your knees on the side of the road on all that gravel when you're working on changing your tire. If you need to get under the vehicle, of course, the Magic Creeper is great because it gives you extra ground clearance. You can get under the vehicle, and the Magic Creeper slides over rocks and debris that might be on the side of the road. A traditional creeper, you know, won't do that, and there's no way you can carry a traditional creeper with you. That would be a real big pain and it wouldn't fit anywhere in your vehicle. You can also get the Magic Creeper with the optional roadside emergency kit. It's got all kinds of things you might need: a pair of gloves, it's got a light to keep you safe, and some tools so you can make some emergency fixes and get back on your way. The Magic Creeper is going to get you out of trouble when you need it, but it's also going to help you around the house, and it's a lot more handy than a lot of people realize. Once you get your hands on one, you're going to find a whole bunch of different uses. You can check out the Magic Creeper online, and there's only one place to get the authentic Magic Creeper. That is magiccreeper.com. Go ahead and check one out for yourself. Go ahead and get one for a friend. Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Always glad to have you along for the ride. We're going to be back next week to do it once again. And in the meantime, you can check out our Facebook page to see what we're up to. And if you have a product you'd like to see on our show, email Jeff@masterstv.com. We'll get you right here in our studio. From our entire crew here at our Masters Entertainment Group studios, we will see you next week. So long.